as I am. Summoned outward I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me. Take me as I am. Summoned outward I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me. Take me as I am. Summoned outward I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me. Take me as I am. Summoned outward I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me. Take me as I am. Summoned outward I shall be. Set your seal upon my heart and live in me.
Hello and welcome to this time of reflection for the week of May the 13th through to May the 19th. I am here in the office, my office at the church, and as always I want to begin by acknowledging that the church is located on the traditional and unceded territory of the Coast Salish people, the Squamish, the Musqueam, and the Tsleil-Waututh nations. And I am so grateful to the people of the Coast Salish nations who have stewarded these lands since time immemorial, and for their faithful tending of this land, so that those of us who now have the great privilege of living and working on this land are able to enjoy it. And we make this acknowledgement every time we gather as part of our commitment to truth and reconciliation processes here in this country, so that one day we might truly have a reconciliation between Indigenous and non-Indigenous people. A kind of a resurrection, as it were, which is appropriate because we're in the Easter season. In these days, these 50 days that stretch from Easter Sunday all the way through to Pentecost Sunday on June the 5th. And here at the church, we're gathered around a theme about life after death, living as an Easter people. And when we're talking about life after death, we're really not necessarily talking about the death of our mortal lives, our lives as we know them here on this earth, but really all of the various kinds of deaths that we experience and sustain in our living on this side of the grave. So I want to begin, as we always do, by lighting this Christ candle to remind us of the promise of Easter made known to us through the reality of Jesus, the one we call the Christ. These promises that tell us that life is stronger than death, that hope is more powerful than despair, and that in the end, love always wins. Our reading for this Sunday is the story of Lazarus. It's a well-known story in the Christian tradition, and we won't be reading it in its entirety, but we will be reading it on Sunday morning, sufficient verses of the 11th chapter of John's Gospel, so that we will get a sense of the story. So I want to share it for you now. Now a certain man was ill, Lazarus of Bethany, the village of Mary and her sister Martha. Mary was the one who anointed the Lord with perfume and wiped his feet with her hair. Her brother Lazarus was ill. So the sisters sent a message to Jesus, "Lord, he whom you love is ill." After saying this, Jesus told them, "Our friend Lazarus has fallen asleep, but I'm going there to awaken him." The disciples said to him, "Lord, if he had fallen asleep, he will be all right." Jesus, however, had been speaking about his death, but they thought he was referring merely to sleep. Then Jesus told them plainly, "Lazarus is dead." When Jesus arrived, he found that Lazarus had already been in the tomb 4 days. Then Jesus, greatly disturbed, came to the tomb. It was a cave, and a stone was lying against it. Jesus said, "Take away the stone." Martha, the sister of the dead man, said to him, "Lord, there is already such a stench because he has been dead 4 days." Jesus said to her, "Did I not tell you that if you believed, you would see the glory of God?" So they took away the stone, and Jesus looked upward and said, "Father, I thank you for having heard me. I knew that you always hear me, but I have said this for the sake of the crowd standing here, so that they may believe that you sent me." And when he said this, he cried with a loud voice, "Lazarus, come out." The dead man came out, his hands and feet unbound with strips of cloth, and his face wrapped in a cloth. Jesus said to them, "Unbind him and let him go." This Sunday, we are going to be hearing from Chris Loveledge, one of our thrift shop volunteers, about his near-death experience and how that changed his life. He had that experience when he was a young man. Chris is now well into his retirement years. And he was telling me the other day that he would never have lived his life the way he has chosen to live it without that experience of coming close to death, basically dying, and then returning to earth. He said that it made him realize that life really is about love and all that we have to give to one another in a loving way. And so he spent a good portion of his life volunteering and helping others to know that they're not alone in those times of illness and death that they experience in their lives. This story of Lazarus makes me always think about the ways that we are bound up, what holds us back from living fully. For Chris, it was an experience of illness that made him come face to face with his mortality and face to face with death. But most of us, I think, live in sometimes an often sleepy state in which we're bound up by fear, we're bound up sometimes by relationships, sometimes by work, sometimes by our worries, in a way that we're held back from really living into the fullness of our lives in the way that we are loved. And so a question for this week might be for all of us, what is it that is binding us and keeping us entombed, not fully living our lives as we are intended to live them? One of the interesting things about this story about Lazarus and his raising from the dead is that the story comes in John's Gospel, right before the authorities begin to seek out Jesus to arrest him. This event, this resurrection event that precedes Jesus' resurrection, really becomes a touch point for the authorities to zero in on Jesus. In other words, there's something about being fully alive or having a presence in our lives that can call us into life that for some people is seen as dangerous. And it's seen as dangerous because when we live our lives, when we're so alive that we're not afraid, that we're not bound up by worry, that we're not stuck in dead-end places, our capacity to change the world, our capacity to change systems of oppression, our capacity to really be who we are as humanity, there's no end to what we can do. And so this freedom, this life, this love, it's a dangerous thing. We're dabbling in dangerous things when we're dabbling with resurrection, with the fullness of life. So what's needing unbinding in your life this week, or this year, or maybe this long time of your life? What's still needing to be set free, resurrected? And where are you living your life from a place of being really and truly, fully alive? Where are the places in your life that have been resurrected or made whole to such a degree that you are able to open your arms wide and say, I am here for the sake of love, for the sake of life itself. I send you my blessings as you ponder those questions this week and as you simply live your life in these challenging times. I'm going to change the light now to remind us that this light that was in one place is now in all places. This light is within each and every one of us, and it allows us to live our lives fully, and it allows us to let our light shine for the sake of the world. May it be so. Amen.
Behold, behold, I make all things new, beginning with you. Behold, behold, I make all things new, beginning with you, and starting from today. Behold, behold, I make all things new, my promise is true, for I am Christ the way.